Once upon a time, in a far-off corner of the galaxy, there was a spaceship built for only one person. Dr. Jane Mckenzie, an experienced astronaut and a scientist, was flying it. She was excited to explore the unknown, but also scared because she was all alone. Days passed, and Dr. Mckenzie saw something strange on her radar screen. The signal grew stronger, and it was a woman's voice calling her name. Dr. Mckenzie replied to the voice, but there was no response. She tried to ignore it, but she felt like she was being watched. As time went on, the voice became more coherent, and Dr. Mckenzie asked who it was and where it came from. There was no answer. Strange things started to happen on the spaceship. Dr. Mckenzie saw shadows moving and heard noises. She was sure that something was on the ship with her. One night, Dr. Mckenzie woke up to find that the ship was not alone anymore. There was something there, something that was not human. It had glowing eyes and a twisted face, and it was getting closer to her. Dr. Mckenzie screamed, but there was no one to hear her. She tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The thing was coming closer, and she knew she was going to die. The last thing she saw was the thing's face, twisted and terrifying. And then everything went black. Nobody ever found Dr. Mckenzie or her spaceship. But some say that if you listen closely, you can still hear her voice, calling out for help from the depths of space. Years later, a team of scientists discovered the spaceship, drifting aimlessly through space. They entered the ship and found it in complete disarray. The equipment was damaged, the furniture was overturned, and there was no sign of Dr. Mckenzie. As they were about to leave the ship, they heard a voice, faint at first but growing louder. It was Dr. Mckenzie's voice, calling out for help. The scientists were terrified, but they followed the voice, hoping to find Dr. Mckenzie. But as they got closer, the voice became more and more distorted. Suddenly, they saw a figure standing in front of them. It was Dr. Mckenzie, but not as they remembered her. Her face was twisted and her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. The scientists tried to run, but the ship was no longer under their control. It was as if something was holding them there, something they couldn't see. Dr. Mckenzie's voice grew louder and more distorted, and the ship shook violently. And then everything went black. When the scientists woke up, they were back on their own spaceship, far away from Dr. Mckenzie's ship. They had no memory of what had happened after they saw her twisted face. But as they looked out into space, they saw something that made their blood run cold. It was a figure, drifting aimlessly through space, its face twisted and terrifying. It was Dr. Mckenzie, still searching for help from the depths of space.